Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today we're talking Courtiers. Should I try that again? Courtiers. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. We have had some really good chapters, and I'm excited to finish out this one. This is Exit Plans. For those reading along with me, I'm on page 300. And we got some stuff to dive into today. Woo! Just when you think these two can't get worse, they just keep going. And we're here to talk about it. But guys, thanks so much for being here. If you want to further support the show, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. That's where we do all our deep dives. That's where we can go uncensored. We actually just ran the Chris Rock video and reacted to that over there. And we've been watching a lot of interviews and like the Oprah interview and stuff. It's been a lot of fun, the Ellen stuff. But also we have executive producers who I will be thanking at the end of my show. So if you are interested in that, check it out. Patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. Also have my merch available. Recollections may vary. So check that out. But without further ado, Courtiers. All right. So again, we're on page 300, finishing up Exit Plans, which is chapter 13, I believe. So by the time of the Africa tour, which was coming up, it was around August 2019, relations between Meghan and her senior advisors were, awful. The advisors felt their advice was not being listened to. Now, remember, I talked about in the last episode that she was more concerned about her California team, so she would often leave palace staff completely out of the loop. So they would have no idea, even though they were supposed to be there helping her, and they were trying to help her, she was leaving them out, and he goes into it, and I'm going to go ahead and cut to the chase. She was doing all this on purpose, of course, shocker, right? But she was doing it so that way she could have proof that they were not helping her. Now, remember, she's come forward and said, nobody helped me, I was thrown to the wolves, all that BS that nobody believes. But there's so many people and so many books written that have said that's just not the case. She had a whole team of help who tried everything to help her, would work with her and really try to talk to her and try to get everything she wanted to have happen, but she wasn't working with them. And therein lies the crux of why I think just so many people have problems with Harry and Meghan. They change their stories all the time, lies. They have reputations for being very difficult to work with, but then every chance they get, they play the victim card. But then are the first ones to say, like Harry did in his therapy sessions, we don't play the victim. So it's just the most, I hate the word gaslighting, but it's gaslighting like I've never seen. So instead of trust and openness, there was just suspicion. And the relationship it had deteriorated completely. Harry and Meghan's team at this point would refer to themselves as the Sussex Survivors Club. We've definitely heard about this. Now, the core members at the time were Sam Cohen, Sarah Latham, and Assistant Press Secretary Marnie Gaffney, who, according to Valentine Low, came up with a nickname for Meghan, calling her a narcissistic sociopath. I don't think she was wrong. And see, Valentine does such a good job with this part of the book. He really goes into something that we've all brought up, is that, let me just read to you. It says, watching Meghan talk about her pain to Oprah and describe how she did not want to live anymore, it's an uncomfortable experience. Most people would think such an expression of despair could only be rooted in truth. You know what? That's exactly how I felt. Take Meghan out of the equation. Of course, when you hear that, your gut instinct as a human being is to be like, oh my God, how, we got to help that person. That's terrible. Don't wish that on anybody. Okay. But then you start looking at it and you start thinking about it and you realize, no, that's not, nothing she says is right. There's just no way. But yeah, he goes on to say a succession of perfectly decent people, all whom believed in Meghan and wanted to make it work, came to be so disillusioned that they began to suspect that even her most heartfelt pleas for help were part of a deliberate strategy that had one end in sight, her departure. That's it. That's exactly it. That is her what idea in a nutshell, right? All these, quote, pleas for help and all. Nope, they're all part of the strategy. She was leaving a paper trail so that way she could go back and have fodder for the interviews and try to make herself more, I don't know, relatable, likable. Imagine, though, that you're one of these poor people who have worked so hard for her and worked her way up in the palace staff to, assist one of the working royals, whatever, become a courtier. And this is what happens. They treat you like crap, and then they go on this this worldwide, we want privacy, we are victims. Here's my therapy tour. My God, I feel for these courtiers so much. I really do. Okay, so according to Valentine, again, she wanted to leave a trail of evidence behind. So that way, when it came for time for her to leave the monarchy, she'd be able to say, quote, look how they failed to support me. That's it. Ding, ding, ding. He hit the nail on the head. That is so perfectly said. So there's another view, too, that goes even further. It's just an opinion, a theory from someone on the front line. This is a direct quote from Valentine, but it speaks volumes about what it was like to work with Meghan and how people look back on this experience. Ready? She wanted to be rejected because she was obsessed with the narrative from day one. We all know this about her. She's a plotter, right? She's a planner. She's a plotter. She knew what she was doing, trying to getting Harry. And then she was plotting this as well. This was her narrative. I'm talking like it's a new revelation. It's not, but it's just so well summed up by Valentine. I got to give him a standing ovation for this. There's just so many layers to it. That's what keeps me just completely intrigued with the story. I mean, it really is. It's like a crazy novel, right? And there's twists and turns and she knew what she was doing from the beginning. We knew she knew what she was doing in terms of she wanted to get away, but she was planning this narrative from the beginning. So there were danger signs from the beginning, but no warnings. Sam Cohen would say to two key courtiers in the whole institution, Edward Young, the Queen's private secretary, and Clive Alderton, the Prince of Wales' private secretary, that if all went wrong with Harry and Meghan, the palace needed evidence of duty of care the organization had shown them. The duty of care was crucial, so Sam saw it. She knew we need to show that these two assholes are going to go on a worldwide victim tour, and we need to be ready to show that we tried to help them. And I'm saying, thank God for authors like Valentine Low and of course, Tom Bower for Revenge, etc. Even Lady C, stuff like that. They have the receipts and that can show what monsters these two are. So planning it from the beginning, treating their staff like shit, and then claiming they're the victims. Oh my God, they really are the worst. They really are. To quote my own merch, I gotta say it, make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. Instead of being adults saying, you know what, we're gonna step down. We love the royal family, and actually do it and mean it and not go on this victim tour. Fine, so be it. Go live your lives. But the way they have handled this has been spectacularly bad from beginning to end. And it's just still so fascinating to watch. I'm riveted completely. And you guys are part of that reason because I love discussing that with you. So I can't wait to read the comments about this. Okay, back to the book. So by the time of the Oprah interview, the palace unfortunately had lost the argument over duty of care because Meghan had hijacked the narrative, making it all about her mental health. I'm rolling my eyes so hard. Can you feel the frustration in my voice? I'm sure you can. Because think about Harry in his live streaming, even though it was pre-recorded, his therapy session to sell more books. Nice, huh? Really nice. They want privacy, you guys. We want privacy. Let's see. Everything that the palace had done to support the couple, including giving them a team who have done anything for them to help them succeed, well, that was just forgotten. Instead, Meghan was able to point out all the times the organization had failed her. That's another thing that just bothers me so bad. given everything in the world, these two were set up. They could have done some real good. We were, to quote Tyra, we were all rooting for you. And this is what they choose to do instead. They are keeping records of all the times that people have failed them, aka look at Spare, because that's all Harry did was keep records of all the perceived whatever injustices toward him. No matter how minor, he wrote them down in crayon. He had them ready to go. So they were both doing this, right? To make their case that they were failed. Shaking my head. I swear to God, Prince William, King Charles, Princess Catherine, they're amazing for putting up with this crap and carrying on with their duties without a peep. So I think a lot of us have expressed frustration with the palace. I say that. I love the palace. I cannot stand Meghan and Harry. But I'm saying, like, I wish more could have been done to protect the employees. And that these, I know the NDAs and all that. I know I always get a million comments. But I'm just saying it just bugs me. And I wish these bullying reports would come out. I've said it before. But what Valentine goes into is don't blame the palace. Basically, HR is just not used to dealing with this. They can handle disruptive employees. They've never had disruptive royals like this. They've just never had to deal with members of the royal family like this. So it's new for them. They tried their best. Yeah, they could have done better. He goes into laying a trail of evidence would have been a cynical answer, and unfortunately they didn't. Yeah, they could have done better on that. So when Jason Knopf made his bullying allegation in October 2018, Simon Case passed it on to the head of HR, who was based at Clarence House. Now, we kind of got into revenge. And unfortunately, nothing happened from there. Now, the Samantha Carruthers is her name. She's head of HR out of Clarence House. She claims that it never crossed her desk. So there's a dispute over who dropped the ball there. It doesn't matter. The ball was dropped. I really wish they could have continued on with that. And I'd like to know who knew what. I'd like to know, did it ever get to... At the time, Prince Charles, obviously Prince William started to get inklings of it and would go try to help the employees. We've heard stories of that. And again, I love that the employees who left Harold and fraud ended up going to work with William and Catherine, and many of them are still there. They've stayed on for years because it's just a completely different place to work. Valentine has a quote here that I had to bring up, which is, when someone decides not to be civil, they, as an HR, has no idea what to do. They were run over by her, Meghan Markle, and then run over by Harry. God. I feel like they're still doing this shit. We know this. They're still trying to run over the staff. Can you imagine? They have no more Frogmore. Haha. Peace out. But let's say they do go back for coronation. Can you imagine how horrible they will be? It's the ones that are the worst that are the most entitled, right? It's like, I've worked with people like that. I've had somebody from an old job, I was in customer service, that got fired for, like, it's hard to explain, but basically stealing, and was so entitled on her way out. It was just wild. It just blew my mind. Like, it's the people that do the worst things that are the most entitled. Just completely. But can you imagine what they'd be like if they did come back for coronation? I feel for that staff. Okay. So they talk about how they really disliked Meghan's style, and Harry was just as dismissive of his senior courtiers as Meghan was. One insider used to say, quote, Harry's not going to stop or be happy until he has Edward or Clive's scalp. So again, those are the senior courtiers. He decided that they were the problem. He needed to take aim at somebody, and when it's not the press, he decided to take it on the courtiers. They are the people in the book that gave interviews about this said that Harry used to send them horrible emails that were so rude. Just the gall of that. And think about his book, Spare. Remember, he had nicknames for these people. It was like the wasp, the bee, and something. It doesn't matter. The fly, maybe? Just being totally rude and disrespectful there even. So I can only imagine behind closed doors what the email sounded like. So this asshole Harry was being like this to these people that were there to help him. I just wish the Queen had known more about it or had taken act. I don't know. I wish Harry, it sounds like she did set him in his place, but he needed to really be put in his place. This is ridiculous. So according to the book, when Harry and Meghan went to Canada for their 6-week break in November 2019, their escape was planned amid the greatest secrecy. Now listen to this. When the trip was announced, it was supposed to be, quote, family time, according to the palace. And definitely should not be seen as a holiday. What? Isn't that... What? Can't it be both? I don't understand. I mean, holiday from what? It didn't sound like they were doing much anyway. Meghan was so concerned that the news of their destination would leak that the couple did not even tell their nanny, Lauren, where they were going. So, according to the book, she was asking, what sort of weather should I pack for? And according to a source, she did not know where they were going until the plane, a private jet, not Air Canada, as claimed by Fighting Freedom, was in the air. Nice. I'm sorry, I would never normally comment on this, but I just have to say it. Are the kids just an accessory? Is that all it are, accessories? Is that what we're doing here? Because that's what it sounds like. Every story that comes out. But even not including the nanny in on the plans and stuff. What are we doing? I'm surprised she even took the kids at all, truthfully. All right. So meanwhile, staff had been growing increasingly suspicious about the couple's long-term intentions. It already occurred to them that the Sussexes might go live in America. The fact that they had taken all their personal belongings with them to Canada and their 2 dogs seemed like a big hint. However, nothing was confirmed because why would they share any plans with anybody else? Selfish bastards, especially the team that's trying to help them. So nothing was confirmed until Meghan confided toward the end of the year in a member of her personal staff that they were not coming back. The rest of the team did not find out until the couple held a meeting at Buckingham Palace. So nice. They had these people working for them. Why tell them they're not coming back, right? They found it hard to accept that they were being dumped just like that. I would think they'd be cheering. But I get it. They were probably in fear of their jobs. They'd worked hard to get there and hoping that they wouldn't lose them. But, I gotta say, I'd get a big old pint after hearing that, like dancing around. Yay, they're leaving, they're out. The book goes on to say that a short while before Harry and Meghan returned from Canada, January 2020, Harry sent an email to his father saying they were not happy. I would say they might as well just stamp that on their foreheads because these two never seem like they're happy. The current setup was not working for them. All that free stuff, all the publicity, it's hard. They wanted to go and live in North America. Harry seemed to be under the impression that they could just sort it out by email because Harry has no idea about anything. That dude is so painfully stupid. No ideas. He's like, what? I have to do stuff? What? It's not just sending an email to my daddy to take care of it? But remember, he likes to claim that Charles wasn't there for him, but he thought he could email him and just have him handle it for him, right? Make that make sense. All right, so he thought he could just email him before he and Meghan got back to London 6th of January. The reply they got, however, was that this would require a proper family conversation. Well, Prince Hasnaballs did not like that at all. He takes that as a huge slap in the face, that things couldn't just be magically worked out for him. They couldn't order people around, right? I wonder if he should use that same rude tone with his father as well in the email. So Todger Cream himself is pissed because he just wants it done immediately. Everybody should bend to his will, not the other way around. And he's taking notes. But he was incensed because they couldn't see him until later in January because they wouldn't just drop everything to meet with him. So what did Dumb and Dumber do? You guessed it. they did their own thing. They decided to just go ahead and make the announcement to stand down. It was on the 8th of January. And so the royal family was like, God, these two. So they cleared their schedules. 5 days later, they were able to meet on the 13th of January. That was the Sandringham Summit. Great idea, dickheads. Why don't you go ahead and announce that before you have the meeting so that way everybody's really happy with you. And then he has the balls to complain about they wouldn't work with him at that meeting. Well, I wonder why. You're being a petulant child. I'm surprised they met with him at all, honestly. After he made that statement, I'd just be like, all right, go live your life, have fun. So the chapter wraps up with Harry and Meghan, quote, feeling cornered, misunderstood, and deeply unhappy. Again, they are the terrorists in this situation. They are making these demands, and if they're not exactly met exactly how they want them, they turn into the victims. And it sounds like that's what happened. So the book points out that basically the departure negotiations were just never going to end happy, and that's how that chapter ends. So from here we will, I misquote earlier, that was chapter 14. Next we will get into chapter 15, the greatest kindness. Just want to say thank you so much for being here and for watching. I'm really enjoying this book. I can't wait to keep going. The next book we'll pick up is Meghan and Harry, The Real Story by Lady C. So go ahead and start planning for that. Meantime, I just want to say thanks again. If you want to further support the show, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. And I have some executive producers to thank, and boy, do I ever. Thank you guys so much. If you want to become an executive producer, check out Patreon. Huge thank you to Kristen. Thank you to Linda. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you to Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you to Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Aaron and Frank. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Kay King. Thank you, Glynis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dewey. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Adair Becker. Thank you to Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you, Diana, LOL. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, KT. Thank you, Jolene. And thank you to Stromboli. Should I say woof woof Stromboli? Guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm just so excited. You guys have been amazing. My views are up. It's great. I'm really enjoying I'm working around the clock trying to put out bonus content, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of news coming out right now. So I'm trying to keep up with that. If you want to further support, I also do have the merch still. Recollections may vary. Hank and Skank. Make it make sense, right? I'll put the link in the comments below. But thanks and have a wonderful day. And I can't wait to keep going with this book. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.